Hi, I'm Joem and I'm planning to share a few thoughts regarding the joy of reading. Many people know about the benefits of reading just enough for them to learn how to read without having any love for the act. Such a practical view on reading is as joyful as relying on capsules and tablets for your daily nutritional needs. This said, I could possibly lecture about the benefits of reading in the hope that I could make you love the activity as much as I do, but I doubt I'd be successful. Nothing makes one fall in love with anything more than the direct encounter with what should be loved. Instead, I'll do the next best thing. I'll share with you how I ended up loving reading, and perhaps in another video, the act of writing. Maybe within this story you might find something you can relate to and eventually learn to love reading. Probably even more if you love reading already. At worst, I've shared with you a story that may explain how some people end up becoming bookworms. My love for reading started with my parents. As a child, I loved being read to, especially before bedtime. I loved hearing stories that I knew I'd never experienced personally. I loved how those stories became memory and how those memories became as vivid as my own personal experiences. I loved listening to the cadence of my parents' voices as they read those stories out loud, the way they'd pause, the way they'd change their voice, along with the different characters speaking in the story. I think I loved listening to stories so much that I grew up impatient. Although my parents would love to read to me just one chapter a night or two if we were well behaved, the need to know what happens next gnawed at me during the day. At one point I caved in. One day I just picked up the book and read ahead of the scheduled bedtime reading. At first, I'd pretend to be hearing the designated chapter for the first time, but I think my parents caught on early because the next thing I knew I was doing the bedtime reading myself. Then came rereading. No one loves anything that they wouldn't want to relive if they could. In the same way we'd eat our favorite dishes more than once, we reread the things we love. With one fundamental difference. We're never the same readers when we reread the same book. We're older, wiser after we read a book. And rereading a book only has us more receptive to what the book offers. We learn to appreciate the subtleties derived from the sentences, from the meticulous word choices and arrangements, making the rereading synonymous to a richer reading. I think it's hard not to love reading unless one grows up reading the wrong way. If we read, let's say, with the intention to fill in blanks. Or if we treat our readings like a puzzle to be solved, like there's a deeper meaning we're obliged to wrest out from the story's grip. Reading this way is like rearranging our sumptuous steak dinner according to the color of its vegetables that come along with the steak, and eating everything according how they appear on the rainbow. It's interesting to imagine, but you'll find it tedious to do. You'll miss out on the way the different ingredients blend together. Not to mention, it's an insult to the chef. Reading is similar to eating a good, thick, juicy steak. When you sit in front of the steak, fresh from the kitchen, you savor the aroma and listen to it sizzle as you admire the size of the steak and the careful way everything is plated. Then you slice a piece. Dip that piece in gravy, if that's your thing, and put it in your mouth. Then you masticate, not chew. You enjoy the taste, the texture, the warmth of the meat. You make that piece of steak last for as long as you can before you swallow. Because you never know when you'll have a good piece of steak again. This is a weird way to describe the reading process, but I believe it to be true. We should enjoy the experience of reading the same way we enjoy the experience of eating. Reading is to the soul as food is to the body. Yes, food is a source of nutrition for the body, and reading nurtures the soul. But consuming food should never be a chore. Reading neither. Otherwise, why do we eat at parties and give food items as gifts, right? Sometimes we consume food not because we're hungry, but to try out something new, to create that chance to bond with others. When we read, it's the same. It's good to go read beyond mere necessity. Reading is an adventure right out of your couch. It's an opportunity to share stories with others. Isn't it true, when we love something, we have to let others know about it as well? Perhaps just to assure ourselves that we're not being crazy. I'd like to end this with one more note. As I've been consistently paralleling eating and reading, I'd like to emphasize one other commonality. What you consume is terribly important, and as it will undoubtedly change you. In the same way our bodies absorb whatever food has to offer, so do our souls absorb whatever readings have to offer. There is food that is tasty and fun, but harmful in the long run. The same goes with books. There's also food that is so awful at first encounter, but its benefits, just wow. Some readings do the same. With that, I firmly believe that we should all be voracious readers, but at the same time, conscious about what we read. What happens to our souls, after all, forms a big part of whatever destiny we have. Thank you.